It will be a cool and largely clear night over most of the country, although the odd shower may make its presence felt. Tomorrow will dawn bright and sunny. Harry turned the television off when his mum had gone upstairs. The children were sitting in the kitchen in their dressing gowns, watching the clock edge slowly on. "Psst!" said an urgent voice behind them. "All clear," said Johanna, and Mr. Phigg stepped into the room. He was dressed in black once more, complete with balaclava and gloves. His face, in contrast, was completely white. "What is it?" said Johanna, jumping up in alarm. "It's Bartram. He's gone missing." "Missing? How?" "I don't know. It's really strange. He's nowhere on the Slumber Downs, and he hasn't gone out through any of the gateways. We'd know if he had. Get yourselves ready as quick as you can, and we'll get up to bed quarters and try to find out what's going on." The children took off their dressing gowns, rolled down the legs of the dark trousers they were wearing underneath, and slipped their boots on. Mr. Phigg handed each of them a balaclava and a pair of gloves. He looked them up and down and nodded grimly. They all went out through the little door at the back of the kitchen and walked quickly across the field to bed quarters. Arthur was inside, talking to Simon and Mabel. "We've got a lead, Phigg," said Simon. "Arthur here seems to have been the last to see Bartram." "It was about the middle of the afternoon," said Arthur. "We were up in the top field, right in the corner behind the nettles. There's a particularly nice patch of clover, juicy, but enough body for a decent chew, and—" Yes, all right," Mr. Phigg interrupted. "We're not all connoisseurs like you. What happened?" "Well, I was just tidying up the top end, and Bartram was down the bottom of the patch, rootling under the hedge for new shoots. We were chatting away until I suddenly realised he wasn't." "Wasn't what?" asked Johanna. "Chatting," said Arthur. "It was when I'd asked 3 times if there were any of the nice pink flowers down there and still got no answer. Then I thought he was hiding." "Why would he do that?" Mr. Phigg asked. "To jump out and give me a shock. We like to do that sort of thing, you know. Anyway, I just strolled down casually and said, 'You can't fool me, Bartram. I can see you.' But I couldn't really. He wasn't anywhere." "Did you notice anything unusual?" asked Johanna. "Was there anything out of the ordinary?" "Well, yes, there was. I thought I might have imagined it. Just as I was looking at the hedge, it seemed like the air flickered, and for a moment I could see right through into a different field, with a big grey fence at the far end. Then the hedge was there again, solid as usual. Do you think I imagined it?" "No, I don't," said Johanna firmly. "Harry and I have seen the same thing, but from the other side." "The other?" "From the grey world. That's what you saw. A gap opened up again between here and there." "And if it did," said Mr. Phigg, nodding, "what if Bartram went through and got stuck in our world when the gap closed up again?" They looked at each other in horror. "How can we find out?" asked Johanna. "Are the monitors still acting up, Mabel?" asked Mr. Phigg. "Yes, we're picking up that windmill every now and then. Let me run back the footage from this afternoon." She found the right set of recordings and ran through them at high speed. Occasionally, the views of the Slumber Downs were interrupted by flashes of the windmill and its perimeter fence. Mabel slowed the film down at those points, but nothing seemed to be happening except a lorry going in and out from the site. "Wait a minute," Harry shouted suddenly. "Zoom in there." He pointed to a small white speck on the screen. Mabel did, and there, unmistakably, was Bartram, walking across the field towards the perimeter fence. As they watched, the site gate opened and a black jeep drove out. A figure in the jeep pointed towards Bartram, and the jeep veered off the road and across the field towards him. Bartram immediately started running in the opposite direction, but the jeep was too fast for him. He zigzagged to and fro, trying to get away, but the jeep always kept up with him. Then 2 figures stood up in the back of it and held something out between them. "It's a net," gasped Johanna. "Oh, run, Bartram, run!" But it was too late. The dark figures threw the net up and out of the jeep so that it fell down over Bartram. He tripped and rolled over, becoming completely entangled. The jeep stopped. The 2 figures got out, picked up the net and the sheep, and got back in. The jeep drove back to the gate and into the windmill site. "Oh no," said Johanna. "But why would they want to do that?" She looked at her friends' faces in turn, but no one had an answer. Mr. Phigg shook his head. "I don't know why, but what I do know is that we're not just going in there for reconnaissance now. This is a rescue mission. Come on, there's no time to lose. Lawrence and Hoxton are already down at the site waiting for us." "Hold on," said Johanna as he headed for the door. "Remember our plans. We need Bartram. We can't do this without a sheep." Mr. Phigg stopped and looked back, crestfallen. "You're right. What do we do now?" "Ahem." Arthur coughed quietly. "Yes?" "I'm a sheep. Will I do?" "Oh, Arthur," said Johanna and gave him a squeeze. "Thank you very much." They carefully explained what they needed him to do, then made some final adjustments to their costumes.